The following is a paid program sponsored by the friends and partners of Faith Life Now. Today on Drenda.
Do you know what's really going on? We live in a very toxic environment.
Yes.
Everybody does, not
Right.
just men.
Welcome. Glad you joined us today. What does all this have to do with your man's health? Today we're going to be talking about motivating your man and about your man's health, how to help him. And do you know that men can actually go through their own form of menopause called andropause? We're going to be talking about all that and more with Dr. Bob DeMaria today as our guest. Stay with us. Be right back.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching Drenda today. Hey, we want to help you out, put a smile on your face, give you answers, give you hope for your hectic week. One of the ways that we do that is through our download of the week, which is absolutely free and is available at drenda.com right now. Make sure you check that out, download it and put it on your iPod or get it in your car to hear even more answers on today's topic. We also want to invite you to check out the blogs and the articles available, as well as leave us your comments and suggestions or ask us a question. We would love to hear from you. It's just one of the ways that we're helping you get life here on Drenda.
Talking about your man and his health and motivating him. With us today, Dr. Bob DeMaria. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for being with us.
So glad to have you.
Thank you.
You're an awesome guest.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Bob, you've been on the program several times, and we just always love hearing your insights. Today, we're going to be talking about men. Men. What are men thinking? What's going on with men?
Men are thinking about if they're going to lose their job, some of them. Men are thinking about what's happening to their mom or dad. We're in the sandwich generation for some. They're thinking about their mate if they're married, their girlfriend if they're not married, their children, and probably some kind of intimate rendezvous.
Okay.
I was going to say that first, but I thought we'd say it at the very end.
Okay. You want to give it a little bit of...
We're baiting everybody.
So there's a lot of stress on men nowadays, obviously, but we're seeing a lot of health problems too. I mean, there's all these commercials for ED, and there's just, there's women emailing us and calling us saying, I can't get my husband off the couch. All he does is watch TV, and how do I help him to feel better about himself? And
yeah, what this guy went from a great, leader to, wanting to play football, a young man, go for it, and now he's become this depressed, discouraged, and yet we don't talk about depression too much in men, you said earlier.
Men, 18% of our population has depression. 50 million Americans. But you know what's really going on? We live in a very toxic environment.
yes.
Everybody does, not just men, but women. And what's very interesting, I talk about this oil filter so many times, which is the liver in the human body. Well, when you look at a man and you look at their tummy, we call it a pendulous abdomen. In other words, their tummy is big. That's not water. That's visceral fat. You know what that visceral fat is making? Estrogen.
Really? Huh.
Which does what to a man?
Well, what it's going to do, it's going to feminize him. It's going to counter the testosterone. So we know in the human body there's a gland, a pair of glands called the adrenal glands that make testosterone and estrogen and progesterone. And a lot of things we have backwards today in America. It all starts with cholesterol. The cholesterol makes something called pregnenolone, which makes progesterone, which could either be cortisone or testosterone, for example. Well, if you're underneath a lot of stress, eating a lot of sugar, underneath a lot of stress, everything I said from the beginning, instead of making testosterone, your body is making cortisone. Think of cortisone as water on the fire. Well, after a while, your body gets exhausted with all the water, the cortisone, so the adrenal glands, which are making this, say, brain says, yes, adrenal glands, I need more water. And the brain says, I'll take care of it. Guess what the first thing that it makes? Cholesterol, which makes pregnenolone, which makes testosterone, which makes progesterone, which could be testosterone or cortisone. So there's this vicious cycle. So then, if you're making constant cholesterol to make the cortisone, and you're not feeling good because you have pain, you go to your doctor, you have pain because you're not making any cortisone, but you have high cholesterol, guess what's going to happen? The doctor's going to give you a drug to lower your cholesterol. So then you have the bad effects of the cholesterol, which includes erectile dysfunction. Now, I never thought when I graduated college in the late 70s that I'd be on television with you two fine ladies talking about ED.
It didn't occur to me either.
And it used to be called impotence, but that has a negative connotation. So it's ED, erectile dysfunction. This is very serious because I treat patients from very tiny to 90 years old. Never did I think that I'd have somebody come in my office when they're 40 years old and they do this to me. You ready? Dr. Bob, it's just to take the edge off. You say, what are you talking about? They put them on Zoloft, and they always say the same thing. It's just to take the edge off. And most men don't like to admit that they're taking an antidepressant because it makes them look weak.
Right.
God forbid I'm going to be a weak man, because if I'm taking an antidepressant, anybody in the know knows that that antidepressant is going to affect their libido and their desire to have intimacy.
Wow.
Do you see how it's
So it's like a snowball.
It's
huge?
Yeah.
One thing goes from the other then.
How many men would you say are on a cholesterol drug like Lipitor?
Well, statistically, just Lipitor alone, $12 billion worth of just that one medication. I think that if the medical community had their way, everybody would be on Lipitor. Now I want to make a point, because see, people die of heart attacks even with normal cholesterol. So cholesterol is a body signal. Cholesterol is not good or bad. Think of cholesterol as a firefighter. Firefighters are beneficial. They put out fires.
Fires, right.
So if you're shooting the fireman on the way to the fire, you're going to have bad effects. And those bad effects would include pain syndromes. The number one organ that's impacted by a statin drug is the liver. You're supposed to have blood tests for that. Here's something that I've really never shared on any program I've ever been on before. Heart problems are number one killers. Now watch this. The liver's right here. Well, most people don't realize that the blood has to flow up through your legs, through the liver, on the way to your heart. I'll say that again.
Whoa.
The blood has to flow up the legs, through the liver, on the way to your heart.
And if it's plugged and clogged, heart attack.
You got it.
Yeah, I see it.
So if somebody has a pendulous abdomen because they've been eating too many cookies, and we know this is not...
Or what we call a beer belly, maybe.
Right, I was just trying to be kind. Pendulous abdomen. That abdomen is fat. That fat is estrogen. So can you see this catch-22?
Yeah,
sure.
So I'll throw another bullet at you. When you're 40, your body starts breaking down muscle 5 to 10% per year.
Why is that?
What's happening is it's poor carbohydrate metabolism. So if you're not eating right, your body's using muscle for fuel. It's cannibalizing your own muscle.
Weird.
So when you look in the mirror and you think, I'm not like I used to, see, you can't have a life of breakfast pastries and then a coffee break. And by the way, chocolate-covered cream-filled eclairs, I call those torpedoes of death. Chocolate-covered, cream-filled eclairs. The torpedo of death. That's what an eclair is to
They
people.
taste so
Wow.
good.
I don't really remember the last time I had one.
No, I don't either.
Donuts are
honestly.
not good then.
I don't honestly.
Well, they're not that they're not good, they're just not beneficial.
Yeah.
So, you know, things either add to or take away from the body.
Right.
But it comes back to this liver. This liver is critical. I know when we come back after our break, we're going to talk about what we need to do to keep this liver going.
Right.
There are body signals for congested, compromised liver function.
Yes.
Varicose veins, spider veins. But gentlemen, during the break, look at your body. Ladies, think about this. They're little red bumps that you could also have. They're called cherry hemangiomas. Cherry hemangiomas are a body signal to Dr. Bob that your liver needs a little help.
Little
right.
red dots. Huh? And you said you were going to tell the men how to get their estrogen down, right?
That's correct.
Right when we come back here on Drenda.
Yes.
Be sure to join Drenda and her guests after the show for an in-depth discussion on today's topic. It's just a click away at Drenda.com.
Hello, my name is Dr. Bob DeMaria, and I'd like to invite you to get this book, Dr. Bob's Men's Health, The Basics.
This is one book every man should own. Dr. Bob addresses the top issues in men's health like heart attacks, high blood pressure, cancer prevention, and fundamental diet planning. It covers all the basics for a healthy man.
Yes, that's right, gentlemen. It's very, very basic. Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. It's as simple as ABC. A half an apple every day, third cup of beets, 4 or 5 baby carrots. If you follow that formula, you could bring your cholesterol within normal.
Feel better and live longer by following practical tips outlined in Men's Health, The Basics. Call the number on your screen or go to Drenda.com and request your copy right now. Discover a better you for only $19.
Dr. Bob's Men's Health, The Basics. Get it today.
Talking to Dr. Bob DeMaria about men and motivation and health, and ladies, what we can do to help motivate our men. You were talking to me earlier about men and intimacy. What's going on? What have you seen as a doctor? You've been practicing many years. What have you seen in the difference in men and intimacy?
I'm seeing today that men have, especially with their mate, they've disconnected. And I really believe that men, and women too, they're living a fantasy. All the sitcoms on TV, all the movies just show, you know, let's hook up. It's not even, they don't even talk about let's get together, let's hook up. Hook up means not very long. We have a major challenge with pornography. I mean, you could talk hours just on pornography alone.
We have here
so
on
there's
the
this
program.
whole fantasy that's going on both in women and men, and half the marriages end in divorce. So I actually have constant conversation with men who are divorced and don't know what to do. They're going home alone, and I have more than half of my female patients over 50 are divorced. They're on their own, and they always don't have any money. They have financial challenges. So we have men every day that are dealing with these issues of stress, which is devastating, especially right now, economically.
Right.
You know, I read articles in different magazines about how men can get depressed, especially if their mate is making more money than they are. Do you know when you start having stress once again to this organ, the liver, do you know that anger, the word black bile is melancholy. Your liver makes bile. Bile is alkaline. When you're under stress, your body uses bile up to balance it out. When people have anger, like they're angry, I know their liver is also compromised.
Wow.
It's a part of when I was doing my studies for my Doctor of Natural Health degree, there's organ-emotional association. Just like there's probably someone watching us right now that has a chronic cough. Cough and lung is sadness. Heart is joy. It's kind of fascinating how the body is intermingled about every
our emotions.
aspect.
Yeah.
But this liver, and I know I talk so much about the liver, is so critical. We talked about estrogen. How can we lower a man's estrogen? when I've read statistics that the average man 55 years and older have more estrogen than their female mates.
Wow.
Part of it I just explained to you because they have these big old tummies that are producing estrogen. But it's in the water we drink, the food we eat.
Right.
And I have mentioned this before to our patients, men that go golfing, they spray golf fairways with chemicals. We're exposed to chemicals everywhere.
All the time,
so whether you're a female or a male, you want to keep this flowing and working properly.
And we do that by?
Eating Dr. Bob's ABCs. A half a red apple every day. Red apples promote digestion. Green apples stagnate digestion. Apples can lower your cholesterol up to 13%.
So an apple a day keeps the doctor
It does.
away is real.
This is a beet, and I'm not saying it to be funny, but a lot of people don't realize that this is what a beet looks like. They usually see them in cans with brown sugar on them. So usually I cut this end off and this end, and you wash it. I would cut this in half. I'd probably get about 10 or 12 of these. I'd put balsamic vinegar on them, olive oil, and Celtic sea salt. Bake for 400 degrees or until fork tender. I would eat I'd probably eat at least half of that in a day on a salad. That'll lower your cholesterol 40%. I'm going to segue into something, though, before the break. We talked about cherry hemangiomas. I also know that there's somebody watching me right now, and lots of you that have these little red bumps, because I get emails all the time from people. You know what, Dr. Bob? I never knew what they were. I asked my doctor, and he didn't know what they were. From my experience, they're from compromised liver function, too much estrogen. I know that those little red bumps will go away. But see, you can't have your hand in a cookie jar and think you're going to lose weight eating low-fat cookies.
Right.
And I'm not telling people, I'm not trying to browbeat anybody.
It goes back to that fantasy.
It does.
You can't live in a fantasy. It doesn't fulfill.
Right.
Not
It
at
promises
all.
something it'll never deliver.
Not at all. And you can see Satan's hands everywhere. Now, this is very interesting also. Your liver is the storehouse for vitamins A, D, E, and K. It's a test question, by the way. A, D, E, and K. You'll never forget that. Carrots, as we know, are eyes. It's the precursor for vitamin A's in carrots. If you live in a toxic environment, which most people do, you'll see little floaters in front of your eyes. I know people in the audience have floaters, and I know people watching us have floaters. We call them vitreous floaters. They'll improve by eating carrots. A medium carrot or 4 or 5 baby carrots. This has everything to do with men's health, because the number one issue I see is men have high cholesterol. The number one cause of death is heart attacks. I am not saying that the heart attacks are caused by the high cholesterol, but it happens to go with the liver. And I talked about how the blood flows through the liver on the way back to the heart. Well, I have a piece of equipment in my office that I can listen to a heartbeat with an electronic stethoscope. I can take that sound energy, transfer it to mechanical energy, and I can tell you which man has congested liver because of how the heart hesitates, because the blood is slowing down. It's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So it's having trouble getting back to the heart.
That's exactly
Because
right.
it's going through a dirty carburetor.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Um,
The tree of life.
all right, what is this?
This is
Besides
broccoli. I eat broccoli every day. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, besides the apple, beet, and carrot, you want to be eating broccoli. Broccoli has natural compounds in it that will lower estrogen.
So for men especially.
Men especially.
Good.
And if your husband kind of looks at you and says, oh, I don't really want that, you can come right out and say, listen, if you want to have more intimacy and you want your body parts to work, you want to eat this, because this is going to lower your, this is a motivator.
A motivator, all right. We were saying we're going to motivate your men. This is how you motivate them. Feed them broccoli.
That's right, and you can explain to them why they need to eat their broccoli. Not always raw. We live in this society that everything's supposed to be raw. If you were to take that broccoli and heat it, steam it, saute it, it would turn vibrant green. That's because the chlorophyll has been released into the fiber. So you want to eat sometimes raw, sometimes sauteed, sometimes steamed.
But eat it right away after
And
you
just
cook
saute
it.
it in some real butter.
Or that or olive oil.
Olive oil is better.
Not necessarily that it's better. You want to rotate, always constantly be rotating everything that you're eating. But you want these foods in your diet, because what they're going to do is they're going to promote health. You know, let's talk about prostate for a moment, because this is something that It's a concern, and recently was reported that we don't know if we should do a PSA or not do a PSA, and a lot of false positives, and we've talked about this on the program before, that we're breathing in chlorine. Chlorine's antagonistic to iodine.
Now what's this?
This is a shower dechlorinator, thank you. So we have these available that we make available to our patients. You can get them probably at most health food stores. You probably get them on the internet. The chlorine gas is antagonistic to thyroid function. Takes iodine out of the body.
Now all of our city water has a high level of chlorine.
It does.
Among other problems,
Among
right?
other.
Among other toxins.
So this is a shower dechlorinator that I would encourage everybody to put in their shower.
So now men have thyroid issues as well?
Well, what I'm going to get to you is that iodine is for thyroid. Iodine for women is for breast. Iodine for women is for ovaries. Iodine for men is testicles and prostate.
Wow, iodine has that much effect on our body?
Iodine affects every cell in the body.
How do we get iodine?
You get iodine first by minimizing bromine, fluorine, and chlorine.
Which is in our shower, right?
Right, they're antagonistic. But
Okay.
bromine is in white bread.
Okay.
Bromine is also in certain sports beverages, so you want to become in reading labels. It's actually in medications. We don't promote
Sports beverages?
You have to read the ingredients without naming any.
So it'll
Okay.
say bromine, or is there
It'll
another
say
name for it?
bromine will be a part of the equation.
Okay.
And also toothpaste. The toothpaste that we use
Wow.
has no fluoride in it. You know the best source of fluoride?
Carrots.
Carrots.
Wow.
Oh, no, why is one unhealthy and the other healthy?
Because the fluoride that they put in municipal water is a toxic residue from other breakdown of chemicals.
Okay, we've got more. We've got to come back in just a moment. We'll be telling you more about your man and his health.
Be sure to join Drenda and her guests after the show for an in-depth discussion on today's topic. It's just a click away at Drenda.com. This is one book every man should own. Dr. Bob addresses the top issues in men's health. Dr. Bob has helped thousands of patients in his more than 30 years of practice. Call now or go online and get your copy for only $19.
It's very, very basic. A half an apple every day, third cup of beets, 4 or 5 baby carrots. If you follow that formula, you could bring your cholesterol within normal.
Feel better and live longer. Call the number on your screen or go to Drenda.com.
Dr. Bob's Men's Health, the basics. Get it today.
Wow, we have been learning a lot about men's health and about
Yes.
men and what motivates them. You know, we've been talking about all these things that affect men. Their gallbladder. You just told me about the gallbladder. What does the gallbladder do for a man?
Well, the gallbladder not only does this for men, it does it for women also. The gallbladder is your bottle of dish detergent. What does that mean? Well, your liver makes the detergent. It's called bile. Bile is an emulsifier. In other words, it breaks down fat. So let's say we're preparing some chicken. You know, you have that chicken grease on your hand. Well, if you wash your hands with water, you'll never get the chicken grease off. But you put a dab of your favorite dish detergent, which is an emulsifier, and it cuts the grease. So I'm going to share something with you, a little known Dr. Bob secret. Pay attention. I have learned from my experience that individuals who have their gallbladders out have a greater chance, from my experience, to have a heart attack
Wow.
Really?
and get cancer.
Because they don't have the detergent to clean.
Wow.
You are learning this. You
I
are
am.
a good
I'm
student.
going to take care of my man.
But
That's
this
right.
is
That's
important
right.
because the people who have their gallbladder out, I can show you in
Yeah.
my
Right.
practice, gallbladder out, 6 years later, little wires around their chest. So the best way, it's so simple. Half an apple every day, third cup of beets, 4 or 5 baby carrots, keep the liver flowing. But we talked about iodine.
Right, yes. I want to mention that as well.
I spent 2 weeks in Japan. The average Japanese female, which are shorter than we are, 12 milligrams of iodine a day. I encourage my female and male patients 12 milligrams of iodine every day. If you have a child at home right now that has growing pains are usually a lack of iodine. Go slow with the iodine, because if you have too much bromine, fluorine, and chlorine, you could have a metal taste in your mouth, a rash, and a headaches, because your body's pushing the chemicals out, especially if they're on a swim team. And if you're a senior citizen and you're water exercising and you start taking the iodine and you don't feel good, it's not the iodine. Your body is dumping toxins.
Okay. How do we get iodine? What's the best way?
Kelp, deep ocean fish. We actually make available to our patients a product that has iodine and iodide in it. We don't promote commercial salt because there's other chemicals in that.
Right.
Iodine is important for every cell in the body. We also promote having a TSH, a T3, and a T4. We talk about that in the Men's Health book
Okay. All
that
right.
all of our audience should get everywhere in the world because it'll make
absolutely.
the difference.
Definitely.
But finally, it's vitamin D. There's a term I've used before in the program called apoptosis. Apoptosis is limited cell life. Iodine limits cell life. You see, Dr. Bob, why do you want cell life limited? You want cancer cell life limited. So iodine turns on the good genes in the body.
Great.
Vitamin D turns on the good genes in the body.
Okay.
Good.
I personally take between 2,000 and 4,000 international units of vitamin D, drop on my tongue, or a capsule, vitamin D3. I mentioned also before that sunshine converts. See, God gave us liquid Lipitor. Sunshine converts the cholesterol in your skin to vitamin D.
Without the bad side effects.
Without any bad side effects.
A mess up in your libido.
You could get MS, lupus, heart attacks, diabetes, high blood pressure, chronic bronchitis to lack of vitamin D.
Wow.
So what has the media been telling everybody to hide from?
The sun.
The sun.
Right.
You want to be in the sun, morning sun, late afternoon sun. But if you start taking vitamin D and you start getting cramping and itching in your body, you might need to cut back on the D and or start taking calcium lactate or citrate. The most scientific to do would be to have a blood test done, a vitamin D3 blood test. But this is going to help impact men's health and women. So iodine's for all the cells in your body. Vitamin D is going to keep your blood pressure down.
Wow.
Because blood pressure can be an issue. I also
Right.
found that a lot of people have high blood pressure because they eat too many carbs, too many sweets.
Right.
If there's anything that anybody could do to me right now, is you need to say no to this.
Sugar.
S-U-G-A-R. And if you crave sugar, increase your chromium. Chromium takes away the craving for sugar.
Okay.
You want your bile and your liver functioning at 100%. Eat more protein, non-starchy vegetables, that's broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower. Finally, zinc, prostate glands. Wheat and soy deplete the body of zinc.
Wow.
When people come in my office, I look at them just like I've been looking at you guys to see what you have that's increased or decreased in your body. You look good, by the way. If I see large pores on your face, that's a sign of a zinc need. Large pupils means you're eating too many carbs. So you can look at a person, your body is your report card.
Right.
Wow.
So when I have
That's a good way
patients
to
come
put
in,
it.
I look at their
Some of us
skin.
have an F maybe, huh?
That's right. So you guys have done good. You passed the Dr. Bob.
Oh, good.
Good.
We got
I've
a
been
good
studying
program.
hard this
hey,
weekend.
we've got to go today. So many awesome
so
things
much
you've been
information.
sharing, Dr. Bob. How to take care of your man. There's a lot of things about his emotions, about his moods, about his intimacy, sexual activity, adrenal glands. Thanks for joining us today. Make sure you get his book. We'll see you next time on Drenda.
Let us hear from you today. Go to Drenda.com or follow on Facebook and Twitter.
This has been a paid program sponsored by the friends and partners of Faith Life Now.